training to order. This meeting training to order. Today's September 17th, 2025. It's 2 o'clock. We have a quorum. And we're going to go. You have in front of you the agenda. Y'all were able to, y'all got that by email a couple of days ago in this meeting. You've had an opportunity to look at the agenda. What's the pleasure of the board in regards to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we accept the board for these rules and responsibilities from the South Carolina School Association for the training session on September 17th, 2025 as presented.
We have a motion to accept the agenda by Ms. Hurst. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Come on in. Come on in, ladies. We have our casualty here. Hello. All right. So we have today Ms. Gwen Hampton, South Carolina School Boards Association. I'm sure several of y'all know her. And she is here to present a training for all the board members on boardsmanship. So I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Hampton. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mrs. Palmer. Well, good afternoon to all of you. It is really good to see you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here, and thank you for being here. I think when leaders get together like this, you, as education leaders in this community, it speaks to your commitment to education, that you would take your time to come here to learn about your roles and responsibilities, but not only that, how you can work together as a team. Now, it's been a number of years since I was here. It was like a little building, I remember, a tiny building, and I came back and it's like, wow, y'all have done some good work. This is a beautiful facility. It's a very nice facility. I am, you have my bio, so I'm not going to tell you about myself. Most of you know me from conferences. But when I was a little girl, I used to come through Bamberg, Denmark. My grandfather and my grandparents lived in Denmark, Patsy and Bill Brown. And we used to go to Rome Baptist Church, and every other weekend I would come here to visit with my grandparents. So as I was coming here, it just reminds me of that. So thank you. Thank you. And I came really early because I thought Duke's Barbecue was open. And I found out Thursday. Wait, y'all didn't have this on Thursday. I was like, I told Scott, I said, I'm going to stop at Duke's. Well, that's okay. That's okay. But anyway, it's good to see all of you. Now, most of you know me from the conferences. Usually I'm like running really quickly, trying to get somewhere. But this is another part of my work where I go to local boards and do board training. And I love this work because it gives me an opportunity to learn what is happening on the local level, so it informs decisions on the statewide level. So this is really the fun part of my job because I really get to know you a little bit better. So you have a packet in front of you with the information in it, and I'm going to put the attendance sheet around it because you're going to get credit for this. But you have a packet in front of you, so some of the slides are in the packet and some are not, because this is going to be interactive, so you're not going to fall asleep on me. And if you do, eat some candy. So before we get started, I want to go through some introductions. I want you to introduce yourself using this slide. Give me your name, how much time have you been on this team, and just what you expect from our time together today. And anybody can start.
My name is Kathy Griffin. I've been on the board since November, not very long, a little longer. My expectations for our time together is, you mean today?
Yes.
2.5 hours.
That's right.
Is there more? Because I don't see
Just
it.
today, what are your expectations for our time together today?
I expect it to be informative, fill in some gaps and some answers that I don't know, because I still have lots of questions. And I just hope that you're able to provide some of that so that I can be a better, more functioning, more giving and understanding.
Good. Thank you. Next.
I'm Harriet Coker. I've been on the school board since when? Appointed originally when the schools consolidated, but I have been part of the school board since 1956. So this is not new to me, but I've been on other sides of the school board.
Okay.
So I've been coming at it from all angles. But I do expect the time together today would be informative. And we do have some new board members, and I think, we can all learn something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Gwendolyn Bamberg. I was appointed back to the board in November. And I also am expecting a lot of informative information that will help us to grow better as board members.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm Cindy first, and I, like Harriet, we were legislatively appointed to the board as the district was being consolidated, and I think we were appointed in about 2021, but I think we were installed in January 2022. Anyway, and so it's been about 2.5 years. Okay, today I'm really hoping that I can learn more and sort of cement certain things in my brain. And although I just enjoy being with all of you guys. So I think we have the basis of a good board.
Good.
Strong.
Good.
And it's nice to see you.
Thank you, you too.
I'm Dad Porter, and I've been on the board since December of this year, or last year. And I expect it to be informative and productive. And I like being around y'all too. And we've been around together a lot in the last 4 months. Every other week.
Yeah, good.
Like little family.
The roles and responsibilities. Even for veterans, it's always a good time to just review your roles and responsibilities. So that's what we're doing tonight. So I think we can achieve that with the agenda that we have, and you have the agenda in front of you. We're going to look at the board and superintendent relations. We're going to go through roles and responsibilities and do some activities and just talk about good governance practices. What my expectation is that you bring all of your experience to the room. Although you are elected or appointed December, November, you all have a wealth of knowledge and experience. You've been in and around public education for a long time, right? Yes, you have. So you have a wealth of, or around this district for some time. So you have a wealth of knowledge and experience. And I ask that you bring that into the room and share that with us tonight. So are we ready? Okay. The goals for this session are to strengthen the understanding of the role of the board and the role of the superintendent. We're going to review and discuss the basics of effective boardmanship and district governance and develop an understanding among members of the team. And I really like that last one because out of everything that we do here, we want the team to walk away with an understanding of, okay, what are we going to do here? What will it look like for us? I want you to be mindful as I go through this that these are best practices based on policies. And I put some of your policies in your packet, but these are best practices. So if I say something and it's like, well, that's not quite how we do it here. They're best practices. Some things will fit, some things will not. But we'll go through that. When we need to pause and talk about that, then we'll talk about that, okay? So veterans and new board members face the same 3 realities. Whether you're a veteran or a new board member, you face the same 3 realities. Whether you're appointed or elected, you face the same 3 realities. You campaign as individuals, but you serve as a member of a team. You have no authority as individuals, only as a board, and your success as a board member is tied to the success of the board. You have the same three realities. So when you, prior to coming here, when you were running for office, you could say, I. Even if you were appointed, yes, I will do this or that, right? But when you get to the board, what do you realize? It turns into we, right? We have to do it. So I always say to quickly move from candidate mode to team mode. Now it's about we. But you face the same three realities in the beginning of your term as a board member. In your packet, I want you to get to this slide where we're going to talk now about board and superintendent relations. An effective board member understands the critical need for a strong board-superintendent relationship. I want you to think about that. A strong board-superintendent relationship. With your partner, at the table, with your partner, I want you to come up with the characteristics of a strong board-superintendent relationship. And then we're going to talk about that. With your partner. Strong board-superintendent relationship. Ludi, you're here, so you can, or you can move around too.
I'm good.
Okay. Strong board-superintendent relationship. What does that look like? Strong relationship. Okay, so let's talk about what does that look like to you? Any group can start. What does that look like to you? Strong board superintendent relationship.
Trust.
Yeah.
Trust. Okay, another group. Give me another one. Shared vision. Yeah, shared vision. What else?
Open dialogue,
Open dialogue.
supportive, respectful, and be able to compromise.
Yeah. What else? Approachable. Go ahead.
I say transparency.
Transparency. And you said something before.
I said approachable.
Approachable, yeah. What else? Did we miss something?
Do you have honesty?
Honesty, yeah, definitely. Knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. Both the board and the superintendent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Did you have sharing?
Sharing.
She said shared.
Share goals. Anything else?
Integrity.
Integrity, yeah.
That probably explains why we're such a good board.
Yeah. I can go now. Yeah, those are all characteristics of a strong board superintendent relationship. So let's see if we've missed any, or let's see what we can add to that. Common goals. I think somebody said a vision, but common goals, open communication. What about conflict? How you handle conflict? Yeah, handling conflict constructively. Sometimes individuals think that, well, we have conflict, that's a problem. But conflict generates new ideas. If it's handled constructively, new ideas, You get to learn from each other, because if you're all thinking the same way, you're probably not gonna get very far, right? So sometimes there is a little tension, but it needs to be constructive. What else? We said honesty, being straightforward. Speak your mind, but respectful. I think somebody said this team, yeah, but be respectful. Mutual trust. Yeah, you have to be able to trust each other. You share a lot of information that goes between the board and the superintendent. So you have to be able to trust that the information you're receiving is good information that you can rely on. What about ethical behavior? Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the workshop. But having ethical behavior, the board and the superintendent. What happens when that does not exist? Trust. It breaks down. Trust breaks down. Yeah. What else?
I think the whole district would be in terrible.
Yeah. What else? Well, we're going to talk about ethical behavior a little bit later. What about operate within your roles? You have clearly defined roles in policy, and to operate within your roles is important. The board has a role and the superintendent has a role. That's clearly defined, but sometimes, you know, those lines get blurred, but we're going to talk about that later too. But operating within your roles builds a strong relationship. Now let's go to the other side, and you can't say the opposite. You're going to make you work a little bit. What are the characteristics of a strained relationship? When's that strained? Strained, what does that look like?
Disrespect.
Disrespect. Work with your partner and put it on. Work with your partner. Sanders, he just left you out there. Just, he gave him a free pass. I know.
Hey, I can't put that down, y'all.
A strained partnership.
Well, two sides will have to share, that side of the table.
Miss Martin this year.
So, okay.
Okay, so what does that look like, a strained partnership, when that relationship is strained? Strained, what does it look like to you?
Well, one thing we thought of was if certain members are just pushing their own agenda instead of really thinking and responding in terms of the entire district.
Yeah. One agenda focus, someone that's just constantly is their agenda, not recognizing that this is, you gotta, there's a bigger agenda. Well, yes, ma'am.
Sometimes people listen to social media too much. And that can create a strained partnership.
Yeah, when you're listening, and we'll talk about social media a little bit later too, but when you're listening to social media, remember, anybody can get on social media and just say anything. And if you're taking that in as truth versus getting, where do you get your information from? Where do you get your facts from? Where should you be getting your facts from? Where should you be getting your facts from? Here, the administration. You should be getting your facts from the administration. You should, anybody can go on social media and say anything. And I just think social media, people, when they say things on social media, it looks like it's just so polished and it's like, that's got to be true. No. No. So get your facts from the administration. What else?
Well, we thought maybe resentment, or if somebody thought so-and-so was favored, or maybe somebody was, this isn't me, quieter, so tended to be overlooked.
Yeah.
And that could be potentially stressful to some people.
It could be. So it's important as team members to include everybody. Because if you're feeling like you're being left out, that could strain your partnerships, not only with the superintendent, but your relationships with each other, right? So it's important that if Ms. Hurst is not talking, she just said that would not be her. So I can pick on her. Then it's like, okay, well, draw her in. Or if somebody else is like, draw them in. What do you think about this? And why I like these types of settings, because it gives you an opportunity to do that. It's like, well, what do you think? You know, you want to know that. But those partnerships, you want to treat people the same way. Of course, some individuals may have closer relationships, but when it comes to this work, you want to make sure everybody feels like they're included, that their voice is important, because it is important. What else?
It's a strained partnership, and you're less open to suggest because you feel like maybe they're going to be more critical.
Yes. Yes, that's perfect. So when you have that kind of relationship, you're not going to talk as much. You're going to hold things in. Yeah, what else? This side, bunch of others.
I think the characteristic of a strained partnership would be lots of misunderstanding.
Lots of misunderstanding. What does that look like?
Just not being able to clearly communicate, to speak and to not be able to understand or to automatically attribute what you're saying to something else.
Right, yeah. What else? It's a good one.
Not wanting to work together.
Not wanting to work together. Yeah. And if you decide you're not going to work together, what's going to happen to the district? Yeah, everybody will be impacted by that. So it's important to keep that relationship really strong. What else? Did we miss something? I heard something over here earlier.
I still say disrespect.
Disrespect. That's at the top of the list,
Yeah,
right?
I've seen lots of school board members, other school board members, get into school board meetings and start carrying on and acting out. I'm not gonna mention which school board it is. People acting out, and then that makes you lose, it makes your stakeholders lose confidence in the district.
Yeah.
That's what's important
Right.
is if the adult, I mean, we are dealing with children, so, I mean, if the adults are acting like they ain't got any sense, then how do you expect the children to act like they got any sense?
Yeah. When you disrespect each other, others are watching, and you lose confidence they lose confidence in your ability to do your job. So it's always important that you respect the position. You don't have to be friends and hang out, and that would be nice too, as long as you don't have a quorum. But it's important that you respect the position at least, right? Anything else? Anything else? So let's look at that. Disrespect came up very often. Micromanagement, what does that look like?
That's where a board member tries to tell the superintendent everything that he should be doing.
Okay.
And calling them up at midnight. And saying, did you order all of that stuff for the junior beta club?
Okay, that's one. He's just giving us an example.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
sure he
Yeah,
Okay, what else? Give us another example of that. What do you think micromanagement looks like? What does that look like?
Not, I would say not trusting what the superintendent is doing on a day-to-day basis. Like, it's not the board's position to necessarily run like the day-to-day activities and stuff.
Right, so you're getting into the day-to-day activities. If you're looking at how to do something, that's the superintendent's job to say how to do it. You're already, well, we'll get to how you decide what should be done, but then how to do it. Going in the day-to-day jobs of how to get things done. You've hired people, you've hired one person, and then the others will follow based on their job, what their jobs are. What does, micromanagement is a funny thing. It's like the blurred lines. It's how do you know when you're doing it? If you're telling somebody what to do, because you can only direct a superintendent as a board, but if you're one person telling somebody what to do, then you've probably stepped over the line. This is how I want you to do it. You've stepped over the line.
Okay. With that, if you say, I heard this really neat idea that I'd like to share, I don't think that's saying you have to do this.
No, it's
Is
not.
that allowed? I mean, as opposed to, I really want you to do this.
Yeah.
Which we don't say.
Right, and you're sharing information. As long as, when you share that information, you don't go back later, well, I thought we talked about that. I'm like, what did you do about that? Did you research that? Did you, if you send them, no, I understand.
Okay,
But it's just as long as you're not saying, oh, I have this good idea, and I want you to research that, because does the board want the superintendent to spend his or her time researching that? Right? So then, giving a superintendent, and one individual, a directive, that's not your role. So it's okay to say, oh, I went to a conference and I heard about this, but to follow up and say, did you look into that? And I want some additional information. Remember the I, that's the key. What else does that look like? Where do you think most people have trouble with the micromanaging part? What do you think? Yes.
Well, I think I have trouble with it. I don't know that I'm doing it, but some things we just don't know.
Yeah.
We might not know exactly what the three-tiered level of education is.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're told they will do this and stuff, how do we know? How do we know what it is? And that's just an example, but I think that's, you know, when you're trying to find out stuff. It doesn't mean you're really trying to tell them what to do,
Mm-hmm.
but you're just trying to assure yourself that certain things are happening.
So that it's okay to ask for information, right? Because you need information to do your work. But if one person needs the information, then everybody, if one person gets the information, everybody should get the information. But I think the part you said it, you want to make sure it's being done, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, whose responsibility is it to make sure that the administration does his or her job? Right. So if you're trying to figure out if Gwen is doing her job, that should not, the superintendent determines whether, because the superintendent evaluates the staff. Go ahead, I want you to,
Okay, an example might be monthly fire drills.
your,
Monthly fire drills.
okay,
I don't know if the schools have monthly fire drills, but I know that the superintendent is responsible for making sure they do.
right. And so, all of you know that the school, and I don't know your policy here, but the school has monthly fire drills. Whose responsibility is it for the to determine whether those are getting done? The superintendent. And what should you do as a board in terms of the fire drill?
Ask the superintendent.
Ask the superintendent about the fire drill.
And that's where the trust comes in.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm not gonna ask Benny every month, have we been doing fire drills?
Yes.
Now,
So hold it right there. And if you do, then you're micromanaging.
That's right.
I wanted to, then you're micromanaging it every month. Did we have a fire drill? Did we have? Then you're micromanaging.
because you have to report it to the state, anyway. And if they weren't doing the fire drills, Denny would get slapped on the hand by the state.
Right, right.
And then I guess the board would too, but it's not my role to see that that's going on.
Yeah. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? You're good? Okay, what about being inconsistent? What does that, how would that strain a relationship?
No, treat everybody the same.
Treating everybody the same, right?
Or affect your trust. If some person has been a certain way and suddenly it's like it's shifted their opinion.
Okay. So what about as it relates to your work? When I think about inconsistency, the superintendent wants to bring you a good proposal based on what you've talked about, wants to bring you a really good proposal because they want the proposal to pass. But it's still up to the board. But if board members are inconsistent, one day they're like this, one day they're here, they want to, it's not getting information and then changing your mind because you've received additional information. Just kind of all over the place with a particular issue. It's hard to bring you a good proposal. So being consistent, like if, again, you can change your mind after receiving additional information. But when you talk about those big issues, being consistent with what it is that you're really looking for. Because we'll talk about goals in a minute, but you want to be consistent unless you receive additional information, and then of course change your mind. But if you haven't received additional information, then, you know, the changing your mind I don't want to say all the time, but as it relates to those big issues, the district doesn't know where to go. Because they're counting on you to be consistent with that until other information is provided to you, the facts, through the administration, right? Okay, what about plain petty politics? What does that look like? Plain petty politics.
Making decisions based on your personal ideas, or well, maybe just for instance, say there's somebody in the community that's served the community several years, and there's a proposal to name this building after so-and-so, okay? And you go by the policy and everything's good, but just because a board member or two board members don't like that person for personal reasons, they just decide, hey, we're gonna get them all stirred up on the board, and we're gonna block this. That's plain petty politics.
Yeah. Okay, what else? Anything else? You know what this means, the petty politics piece. Yeah, when you do that, you strain your relationships with not only the superintendent, but with each other. Because then trust, right? The trust comes into play there. I trust my members. We just talked about this. We were going to name the building, and now at the next board meeting, we switched. Where did this come from? So what about hidden agendas? Is there such a thing? Hidden agendas? Huh?
Somebody gets mad with a teacher and they don't get their way. They run for the school board and say, I'll get him back.
Hidden agendas,
That happens.
When I hear this, I would say, there are no hidden. You know when somebody has a hidden agenda. It comes out. It's hard to hide hidden agendas. It's very difficult to do that. But it disrupts the board's work. When you have an agenda, written agenda, you're trying to move on with your business, and then somebody throws that hidden agenda in constantly. It's like, you know what your work is supposed to be. You're doing your work. A hidden agenda is never silent. It always comes to the table. But it destroys your relationships, because again, it goes back to trust. What about role conflict?
I think that goes along with like micromanagement.
Yes.
Like when we're, as a board, we're stepping into the administrative roles or, you know, that type of thing, or even, you know, our roles as, you know, like the board chair and stuff, like the chair is supposed to be doing certain things, but we as individuals are trying to step into that role and, you know, the role of what we're supposed to be doing as a leader.
is a big deal. Again, it's in law. You by law and your policies here. Your role is fully described for the role of superintendent and the role of the board. And when you step out of your lane, it creates problems, not for everybody, but it also creates problems for the community because the community is confused. They don't know, well, whose role is it? And of course, people will come to you to help you with issues they might have. But there's a policy that tells you what to do, right? And we're going to talk about that with the next activity that we're going to do. But there's clearly a policy. But as we talk about this, your board superintendent relationships, I want you to be mindful that you're very new, right? Did you know each other prior to? Yeah, you're a very new team. Some of you may have known each other, but you're a new team. So it's important to nurture that relationship in the beginning, right? Get to know each other for yourself, right? Like really nurture the relationship so you'll understand, oh, this is why Ms. Bunch votes this way. You'll understand the way she thinks about things. This is why Ms. Bamberg votes this way. You will begin to understand that, and then you'll listen with an ear for understanding rather than, well, we're on different sides, right? Which I don't know what, you understand what I'm saying. So it's important to nurture your relationships in the beginning, so as you move forward with your work, you have a better understanding of why people vote the way they vote and what is needed. Some people need a little bit more information than others, right? You can look at something, it's like, okay, I'm done, I don't have to hear anymore. But some individuals need a little bit more. So be patient with that as well. Be patient with that. So you're learning each other because you're all very new. You're not new to education, but you're new to this team. So be patient with each other as you nurture this relationship. Anything else? A constructive board superintendent relationship does not happen by chance. Just what I talked about. You have to nurture it. You have to take time. You have to stop each other when you come in here and it's only two of you, take time to talk to each other. When you see each other in the hallway, when you see each other at conferences, ask about the family. Find out a little bit more about each other. So when you come to the table, you're talking to a buddy, a friend, not just a board member. Any questions? Any questions? Don't leave anything out there. Questions? All right. So let's go to roles and responsibilities. Now we talked about the relationship between the board and superintendent. We're going to go a little bit deeper, a little more specific about the roles and responsibilities. And I want you to switch partners. You can stay, who's working. I want you to switch partners. Switch with someone that you don't normally sit by. Come on. Come on. Yeah, you stay here. Okay. Switch partners. Come on. Yeah, like you get up and say, hey.
I don't normally sit by you.
I won't forget that. Your name was that's your favorite.
She said, no, nobody
Maybe we each get one of those.
I'm hurting. Oh, you're hurting me?
Yes, she's hurt.
Oh.
No, she's hurt. I'm hurt too. Well, I know.
Well, I didn't.
And we're not making
Stay there. You're good. You're good. All right. So what I provided here is a quiz. I can't come to a school district without giving you a quiz. So you have a quiz. It's a roles and responsibilities quiz. Now, roles and responsibility is a session that we could do all day, but we only have maybe an hour maybe to do this. So you're working together as a team. What I'd like you to do is, as an individual, first, read the questions and answer the questions. Then as a team, see what you think as a team, and then we're going to talk about it, right? You need a pencil? You're scratching it out. That's why you're working as a team. So first as individuals, then as a team. Jessica, do you have any pencils with erasers? Yeah, first just do it as an individual and then as a team. Did you both have one? Oh, I didn't get them under. Did you get one? Okay. And I usually time this, but I want you to really take your time and be thoughtful around it and ask each other questions.
Can some have two answers?
If you think so, that's good.
All right.
Your two shall have one.
Yeah. Oh, it's me request something. I meant,
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, that's all you're saying.
Oh, I would know. Like it was, but the board chair was there, the superintendent was there, it was like a school. That was. But that And then it feels like.
Okay, how are we doing? How are we doing? Are you ready? Yes. Okay, let's see how we do. This is the trouble. Let's see how we do. You're good?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Uh-oh.
We're good.
Okay, so let's go with the first one. Who selects the superintendent? The board selects the superintendent. That's your number one job. Raising student achievement, but that is, you have one employee, that is the superintendent. The board is responsible for, well, we'll talk about the evaluation, but that is an important responsibility. That is the person that will run the day-to-day operations of the district. So you have to get on one accord about who that person will be as a board. What is it that you like about? What do you need in a superintendent? Understanding where your district is, where you want your district to go. What do you need in a person to get you there, right? You're responsible for that. Who creates the vision?
Actually, it's shared, it should be shared.
Okay. I'll let this group right here.
Needed all of the above.
Okay, what do you think? Share?
During strategic plan.
Yeah.
But now.
Say that
During strategic plan.
Okay, okay.
But now, in reality, though, I can't talk for Bamberg because I've only been on the board.
It's okay, just out of your
But
experience.
out of my experience, it's usually the administration that does the vision, and then in the end, the board will approve the strategic plan.
Right.
But the way it should be is that everybody's around the table.
Yeah. You want to get on one page with, as a board, in terms of what do you want the vision to be? Because you're the big picture person. The big picture. You're the big picture. What is the vision for this district? But we know that it doesn't happen like, because we have a vision in place now, right? And you probably were not involved in setting that vision because you weren't on the board, but the opportunity was there because as community members, board members, individuals have the opportunity to participate in the strategic plan. But the board should be focused on the big picture, the vision, the big picture. But it is a collaborative effort. But sometimes board members will say, well, I don't like the vision. I wasn't here when it was done. No, because the district, you have to get the vision out there. And usually visions are broad enough where it fits with whatever you decide to do even after you get on the board. A new board, the vision usually fits. But the board should be focused on the vision. Are we focused on our vision? What is our vision? You should know it. Even if you were not a part of the strategic plan, you should know it. So that is the role of the board to like, what is the vision? Not that you individually or collectively sat down and you wrote a new vision. That's not what I'm saying you should be doing. But that's something that you should be focused on. What is the vision? Understand what it is, what does it look like? Some boards put it in their boardroom, some have it on their agenda, so it could just, it's in your face. What are we trying to achieve our vision? So, vote. It's a shared
as a strategic plan.
It's in the strategic plan.
It's
a part of the strategic plan. So the strategic plan, the vision and your goals are at the top of your strategic plan. And the strategic plan is a part. All of the actions of the strategic plan should fit that into whatever the vision is. And you may have your strategic plan. Do you have like a one-pager or something with your strategic plan? Yeah, you have a one-pager, so that people can remember it. Okay, but again, the board is, you're the eyes and ears of the community, so the vision is something that you should know. You should know what the vision is. Say yes, you got it right, ladies over here. Y'all were looking at me like, what does that mean? Did I get it right? Okay, who develops the goals? Let's think about it. You just did the vision. Who develops the goals for the district? What do y'all think? Somebody. Superintendent? No, it is the superintendent. Remember, the vision, the board, the vision has been done. The goals is like the roadmap. How do you get to the vision? That's the administration. The administration decides how you're going to get there. Does that make sense? So the administration develops the goals, and you have an opportunity to look at those goals and approve those goals. That's the part of the evaluation of the superintendent. Make sense? Stop me anytime. Okay. Who proposes the organization structure? Superintendent. The organization structure is, you have your vision, you have your goals, the superintendent decides who to put in those places in the organization to get you to the vision, to achieve the goals. The superintendent picks the team, right? The superintendent picks the team. So that's the organizational structure. Who approves the organization structure? The board. So sometimes board members will say, well, I didn't have a say in that, and this is the structure, but you approve the structure. You still have an opportunity to engage in that process, but allow the superintendent to pick the team and hold the superintendent accountable for the success. Allow the superintendent to pick the team. Who supervises and evaluates? Do we want to go back there? Because I had some looks at you. You're okay with that? Do you understand how that works? Okay. Who supervises and evaluates personnel? Superintendent. Remember, you have one employee, the superintendent. So the superintendent, everybody else here is evaluated and supervised by the superintendent. So if you have a problem with anybody or there's some sort of problem you're hearing about, what do you do with that? Take it to the superintendent, because that is the person who evaluates the individuals. And you don't want to get too involved in that process, because if it comes before the board, you have to recuse yourself. Who approves and reviews the budget? The board. Who proposes and administers the budget? The superintendent. Did you have a budget when you got on the board? Right. So your job is to monitor now the budget. Get a good understanding of the budget and monitor that. Ask questions. If you don't understand, ask questions. The budget is a really tough, from what I've heard with school board budgets, and I sit in school board presentations on budget. We have some really good school business officials that come through and do those presentations. It takes a couple of years to really get the hang of those school board budgets. It takes a couple of years. So don't beat yourself up about not knowing how to monitor the budget. Those big things. If you want to know how many paper clips they go up, that's micromanaging, right? How much is this paper cost? That's micromanaging. But the big pockets, where things are, what are they for? Because sometimes board members will see a big pot of money somewhere and think they can just move it around. But you can't. Now, Omo may look good in an orange jumpsuit, but
Or go to prison.
So you have to be mindful of that. So ask those questions. Well, what can this be used for? What are we using this for? Ask those questions about the budget, so you will clearly understand where things are supposed to be. Yeah, but it takes time though. So don't feel bad about not knowing right now. And you have to vote on things sometimes that you don't have all the information on. That's why the trust is important. Trust the administration to give you information. If you feel like you're not getting information, then ask. Other board members, sometimes people won't ask questions, and you want to ask questions to understand. You want to ask to understand. Policies. Who adopts policies? The board. Board members should be asking questions about policy. You should be talking to other board members when you go to conferences. When you're at a conference, ask them, well, what do y'all do about this? Remember, some policies can be changed, some cannot be changed. Some are federal and state. You may not be able to change those, but sometimes the local policies you can change. Sometimes we hear that board members think maybe the policy, we have a bad policy. It may not be the policy, it may be the implementation of the policy. Somewhere where the implementation, something is not working there. So that's why it's important to not just say, we need to change the policy, but what's not working? And that's when you rely on your administration to, we've been hearing a lot about this particular policy. We need to look at maybe what is not working there, or maybe it's a tweak. I remember, so one night I was at a school board meeting, a workshop like this, and the board members, some were new, some were veterans, and they were saying, we have this policy and we're supposed to do this, and I mean, they just went on. They were like, had different opinions about the policy, and it really got down to the Jessica in the room who had been there about 25 years. The person that was in her position said, no, that was a practice. We just kind of started doing that. That's important too. Is it a practice or is it a policy? Because sometimes we do things and it's like, oh yeah, and then we start calling it a policy. It's like, no, that's not a policy. That's just something we started doing because Wynn got on the board and we didn't like the way Wynn handled things, so we just made this, right? We just made this up. So it was the Jessica in the room who had been around for years that it said, and had the courage to say, not our Jessica, you know, had the courage to say, no, the board did that because, so it's important when you're calling things policies, whether it's a procedure that you came up with, because you have board procedures that you could come up with, or is it a written policy in your policy manual? Community needs to know that too, because they may walk away thinking that a procedure or just a practice is a policy, and it's really not. So you want to be clear about that. Your policies are online? Yes. So your policies are online. Your job is not to know every policy that you have here because you will never know it. The administration will never know every single policy. They may have to call on somebody to ask about a particular policy. You want to give them time to do that. Well, let me get back to you on that because things do change. Your job is to know how to find the policy. When a community member meets you in the grocery store, to say, go online and whatever tab, you want to know what tab, send them to the tab to find the policy, if that's how yours is online. Yeah, help them. That's your job. Your job is not, you don't have to know everything. It's a lot. How many policies do you have? Thousands. You have yeah. Right. So it's a lot of policies. Then there are administrative rules. Your policy is the big picture. Remember, the administrative rule is how do you implement this policy, which is the superintendent's job. Okay? Does that make sense? But you don't have to feel like you have to know every policy. You do, however, policy section B. You want to know that. Can't get a pass for that. Section B, write that down. Section B. Section B, you should know everything in section B. Can't get a pass for that, because that is your job. That's what's written in law. That is how you help the community understand what your job is. It really helps you too. It's like, now look, this is what the policy says in terms of what our job is. Just know. And when you look at it, it's like, oh, we just did it right here. Roles and responsibilities. It's in your policy. So section B is what you should know. Like, you should know that. But all the others, you have to ask. You have to ask the administration about the others. Who implements the policies? Superintendent administration. Who makes school visits?
Superintendent.
Just the superintendent?
Well, I think the
Board
board members
members
are
are
allowed to go with permission.
Okay.
But we're supposed to make an appointment, sort of like an appointment with the principal. We'd like to come, and we do not go to evaluate anything.
Yes, you don't go to evaluate. So let's start with who makes visits first. All of you should be visiting your schools. All of you should be visiting your schools. But under the policy, what does it say? I think I heard it over here. You're supposed to make an, I don't know what your policy is, but
We're supposed to call the principal.
you're supposed to call the principal.
Then when you go, you're supposed to check in the office and say,
Yes,
here.
there's a protocol for that. Yeah, that's written, it should be written in your policies on how to make school visits. You don't want to just show up. at a school, anything could be happening at the school that day. The principal could have meetings or doing evaluations. You could have an evaluation of the school happening, or independent evaluation, personnel evaluation. Anything could be happening, and the principal may say, today is really not a good day. What about give them the professional, that's professional courtesy, just allow that. It's not, a lot of times board members think that folks are trying to hide something. But again, you want to start this relationship with a level of trust and respect for the position, right? So whatever your policy says, you want to go to the school, make that phone call. Make the phone call, let your superintendent know that you're going to the school. Superintendent needs to know when board members are out in the school district, at visiting schools. If you wake up one morning and say, I just want to hang out at XYZ elementary school, no. Because you don't go to just hang out all day at the school, right? We hear this all the time too. You want to make sure that you're going, you have a purpose, you're going, you heard about the program on Monday night, just say you were at the board meeting, and it's like, oh, I'd like to see what they're doing over there. That's your role when you go there, to observe the program. Go in and come out, right? Not that you, and there may be times where the board does visit and stay a little longer, but you want to be mindful not to disrupt what's going on. And I know one may be feeling like, well, I'm not disrupting, I'm just there. Anytime a board member walks in the room, the room changes, right?
Yeah.
If the governor walked in right now, would the mood in this room change? Right? It would, whether you know it or not, it would. So you want to be mindful of that. You just kind of, right, it changes things. So you are responsible for visiting schools, but just be mindful of how you visit schools.
But there's a difference, like with Jeannie, she has 4 children, and she can visit as a parent, I would think.
Yes, you can. And when you visit as a parent, you make that call, I'm coming and I am in parent mode.
I do that, I always verify, and we all do that at the elementary school.
Yeah,
Are
you're
we
in,
talking as parents or?
or grandparent or whatever.
Yeah.
The issue is, not in this room, but sometimes people are in parent role and then they go to board member role. You can't. You're there today as a parent or a board member, and that should be, because again, it's about trust. Well, Gwen said she was coming out as a parent, and then she got over here and she was, right? So it's important that the administration, principal, which would be the administration, to know, like, oh, okay, well, she's going to see the teacher, I don't have to, but if she's coming, he or she is coming to do, if it's in your board's role, it's important that they know that, or grandma role, or whatever it is. It's important that they know that. And that's a professional courtesy. That's professional courtesy. And I know that's difficult with parents and grandparents. So I'm a grandparent too. So I know what, and a parent, but my kids are grown. But I know how that balancing act. The important thing is you stay in the role that you say you went to. Yeah, you just stay in that role. Any questions about that? That's always a tricky one. That's a tricky one. Who evaluates the superintendent? The board evaluates the superintendent. How do you do that? How do you do it?
Evaluation.
You have an instrument. Who decides on the instrument?
Well, the board,
Y'all are
we're in the middle of looking at our instrument. now,
Okay, okay. So,
and-
go ahead.
And wanting to make any kind of revisions, so
yes.
we're in the midst of it.
But you do that as a team. A board should not decide on the instrument, complete the instrument, and then it's like, this is the instrument we're gonna use. Decide as a team what instrument you're going to use. You can start the process, but you want the superintendent to have some say-so in that as well, right? Because, yeah, it's a team function. But then you get the evaluation. Now, how do you decide what you're going to evaluate the superintendent on? Not any superintendent. How do you decide?
It's based on your goals and your vision.
There you go. There you go. So those goals, it's based on those goals. You can add some other things in there, but it's based on those goals. I remember one night I've been doing this about 21 years. at a district, and there was a rating of, and I know the board meant well with this, but the scores were really, really low, and I want to say really low. And they wanted to get like a 30% score up to 70% in a short period of time. Is that a reasonable expectation?
No.
It is not. But I think, and as I talked to them, I understood that they felt bad saying our kids couldn't do it. They meant well, but the feeling of saying they can do it, but they can't do it in that period of time. So giving the superintendent that short period of time, you all lose with that because it's an unreasonable expectation. So that's when you need help. That's why the instrument and those goals are important for you to look at them. But is this reasonable? That seems, okay, well, that's kind of low. I think we can do better, but not 30 to 70%. But the board meant well. You understand that part? They meant well, but they just didn't want to say that we don't believe our children can do it. They can, but you got to look at how it can be done. That's the important piece. So be mindful of that when the instrument and what you're being evaluated on. And there are all kinds of evaluations. There's no wrong or right instrument. You could have 3 questions. You wouldn't probably do that for a superintendent, but it's up to you. There's no magic evaluation for the superintendent. You just want to agree on it and you want to monitor progress. Because you need to think about how do you monitor progress. Once you set the goal, once you have the evaluation, it is completed, and how do you monitor progress? So how do you think you monitor progress? How do you think you do that?
Well, for one thing, from year to year, you look at are you talking about only monitoring the superintendent or
the superintendent, the evaluation, we do the evaluation, and how do you monitor progress? How do you know if the superintendent is reaching those goals? And who said that? Yes, in your board meetings. So it's like, you're not saying, oh, this is one of your goals and we want to see if you've done it. It's like, well, we have a goal to do whatever it is. You monitor your progress, because you're monitoring the progress of the district. Those are his goals. It's the progress of the district in your board meetings. Where are we on this? How well are we doing? And I like to hear board members say, how well are we doing? And then the answer may be, we're not exactly where we want to be, but these are the things that we think we can do to get there. So couch things in a positive way, even if you know it's like, okay, we're not there yet, and give the administration an opportunity to like, this is where we're going. It's going to take a little while. It's going to take more time for us to get to where we want to be. Does that make sense? So that's how you monitor. When you think about micromanagement, it's like, how do we know? No, that's not micromanaging. You're monitoring the district's goals. Should be tied back to your agenda. That's best practice. I don't know what you do here, but that's best practice. If you're trying to keep up with where are we on things. Any questions there or comments there? Who is responsible for developing the board's agenda? Developing the board's agenda.
In the past, I think the board chair and the superintendent have done it together, but you have an opportunity to add something to it.
Yes, the board chair should have a really good relationship with the superintendent. They should be working together.
We're in one accord, aren't we then?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I was gonna say that.
you can say that. We heard it coming. But they should be
Exactly what I
working.
did.
They should be working closely together to develop the agenda. And then you as individual board members, if you want something on the agenda, you go to the board chair. Sometimes what you want may not get on the agenda immediately. It may take some time. Or sometimes what you want doesn't need to be an agenda item. It could be something that could just be answered. And you don't need to have it on the agenda. So you want to be mindful of that, because the agenda items, you want to think about time. Is it the right time? You may be asking for something that's like, this is really not the right time. We have these things going on, but we will get to that, right? So you want to be, because you have so many important things as individual board members that you want to bring to the table. So, but you want to be mindful of how the agenda is developed and what you need to do to get on the agenda, to get your issue on the agenda. Does that make sense? So you all know the policy as it relates to that. Again, this is best practice, but is that pretty much how you, okay, good. How should you handle, should you respond to complaints? Oh, you all just give it to the yeah. Yeah, so if a parent has an issue with the teacher, what do? Talk to the teacher. Send the parent to the teacher. Well, I went to the teacher and she's not, I just can't get anything done, then what? Then you go to the principal. Well, I've been to that principal so many times and I can't get it done. Then you go to the superintendent. And what should you do as a board member? Because I'm the parent telling you this.
I don't hear anything else you guys say.
But in a nice way.
Yeah, I mean.
But in a nice way. Yeah, you want to direct those complaints to the superintendent. Listen long enough to hear where you need to send them, be it the teacher, the principal, or the superintendent. Listen long enough for that, and then direct them where to go, which is to the superintendent. And you give the superintendent a call, or you send an email. Ms. Hampton called me about something, I sent her to you. So it's like, it's on his radar. Because sometimes Ms. Hampton doesn't even want to get it. She wants to talk to you, because I know you. I just want to talk to you. Sometimes people just want to vent or get their concerns out. And you are in the community, and sometimes you are just their person. But you want to be careful that your role now is a board member, and you don't want to do anything that will prevent you from doing your job. And you could say, Ms. Hampton, I understand, but we have something we'll show you. What to say is written. So, but you want to make sure that I hear you, but there's a proper way to do this, so that if it comes to the board, then I'll be able to vote. Does that make sense? We have a couple more. Who speaks for the board?
The chair.
Who?
The chair.
The chair. The chair speaks for the board after a decision has been made. So the chair can't just, as leisurely, well, this is what I think, because I think is different than the board has decided. And I'm representing the board when I make a statement. Because the chair is an individual too. But the chair should be speaking for the board based on the decision that was made for the board. Or the board can designate anybody. They can designate the superintendent to go and make comments, on whatever it is, or somebody else in the district to do that. So, but the chair largely speaks for the board after a decision is made, and making it clear that this is a decision of the board. And I'm not representing myself. This is a board, and you want to be careful with that too, because once you became a board member, people see you as a board member regardless. Regardless of where you are or what you're doing, they see you as a board member. So you have to just be mindful of that. When is it appropriate to tell a staff person what to do? Never. Oh, I just love that. Never. That was real quick. Never. It's like, no, that's not something you do. Should you request information from staff?
No, you ask the superintendent.
You ask the superintendent. Now, this is that's best practice, but we all know that what happens, we've been working together for a long time, and I'm like, Jessica would be, say if she was the finance director or something, and I've been knowing her, I know her kids, her family, we cousins, so we live down the street from each other. And we live down the street from each other, and because we have that relationship, then I just feel like I could go and ask her for that, but you shouldn't put her in that position. You shouldn't put her in that position. You should go through the proper channels. If you want something from finance, go through the proper channels. And what are the proper channels? Go through the superintendent. Now, I would say if the finance person, Jessica, presented something Monday night at the meeting, you've lost it, whatever she presented, you've lost it, and you just need another copy if you can't get it from our real Jessica and the superintendent. Then, oh, Ms. Bunch, you presented the other night, can I have a copy of that? But this is when you overstep. Now, I just don't understand, I don't think we should do it this way. right? When that's the part. When you're looking at her information that she provided as director of whatever, technology, finance, and you're now questioning what was done at the board meeting, or you want something changed, or you're asking to research more because you need some more information. That is a problem. That's the problem. So really it depends on what it is. If it's a simple, can I get a copy of what you're in the hallway, can I get a copy of that? That's fine. But when you start to have dialogue about the content and what you want to change, or you need more information, or is that really what we should be doing? What do you think we should be doing? Now, that is when you vote or set. Does that make sense? And it's hard because we're all I'm from a small community, we know everybody. Right? You just know everybody, and it's difficult because those relationships have been established over a number of years. You may have taught their children or go to church together. It's hard because you feel like, oh, we're friends, but in his or her role, they are an employee of the district. So you want to be mindful of that you don't put them in a bad situation. And it's hard for people to say no to board members. Y'all have found that out, right? It's hard for people to say no. Not that they just want to say no to everything, but they feel like they want to be helpful. But sometimes that can put you in a situation where it causes them issues because they are being evaluated by the superintendent. The other thing I will say about information, when you ask for information, so I get the information from Director of Technology. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, oh yeah, I have it. But the superintendent and staff they have added to that. Or subtract, they've done some other work, and what I got is different. Then you have the trust issue. Well, that's not what I have. You understand me? It's like, so you want to get it from the source, which is the administration. Because what you have may not match. And it may not match not because something is not right. It may not match because they have additional information. So what you got Monday night may change from Monday to Thursday. So then you're thinking we have a problem. Then the trust breaks down. So that's why it's important to get your information from the source. Does that make sense? And I know it's hard with small communities because I know it's hard because you know everybody. You know everybody. Okay. And the last one, what should you do if you disagree with the board?
Vote nay.
Huh?
Vote nay.
Vote nay, that's
Keep your
right.
mouth shut.
And just vote. You can agree to disagree. You're not going to always agree on things. Just agree to disagree and support the decision of the board.
But you have to publicly support the board.
Yeah, when you go out in public, you want the public to see that, yeah, I didn't vote that way because they can see that, but I'm going to support the board because the board as a whole believe that this is the right thing for the district and we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward. It doesn't mean that you have to like everything or agree with everything, but to show that, look, we're trying to get things done here. We're trying to get things done. And you want the trust of the community for them to see that, to see you bonding in a way as professionals that you're getting things done. And you can't do that if you fight over everything, but you're not doing that. But if you keep your relationships strong, you'll be okay.
I'm having to think on that one for just a minute.
You're going to have to think
I'm
on
having
it.
to think on it.
But let's talk about it. In terms of when you disagree with something?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it.
I mean, you said nay,
Just vote nay.
Just vote no.
I mean,
but yet we
you're
want
not,
to look
you're not
united
agree.
and all of that.
Well, I mean, if it's coming up for a vote and you're voting, I mean, you don't agree with it, you can state whatever you want to state in your discussion. But once it comes up to a vote, if you don't agree, then you vote against it. And that's a simple way of doing it. I mean, because the discussion part is where you state, how you feel about it. And if you say something that Gwen over here says, well, you know what, she's making some sense. That's fine, whatever the board decides, but, I mean, if you're the only one that agrees,
disagree, then I mean, you just vote against it.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen.
Yeah. And that's okay. You have, you've listened to everything that everybody else has listened to, but you still don't agree. It's okay to vote against it. Yeah. But you may listen during the debate and say, okay. I started off thinking that I don't want to vote for it, but I've decided after hearing all the discussion that I'm okay with that. Yeah. So it's okay.
Hear it again.
No, that's fine. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Yeah, that's why we're here. Anything else? So what do you think? Do you know your roles and responsibilities? Y'all have done really well with this. Do you know your roles and responsibilities? It's just sometimes that gray area. You want to stay out of that gray area. Or if there's a problem, ask. Now, we have, over the last couple of months, and then we're going to take a break and go to the next thing, had some issues where, you know, board members ask, what should I be asking? Because we've had boards that come under scrutiny. You want to ask questions. We're not telling you don't ask. You are responsible for what's happening here. You want to ask questions, right? You have a right to do that. You are concerned about something, go to the superintendent and ask. If you think you should be getting some sort of report, not you individually, collectively, it's like go and ask for that, whatever that may be. If you're monitoring the progress of what's happening in the district and you feel like you need additional information to make decisions, then ask for that information to make decisions. Because the bottom line is you're going to be held responsible for this district as board members. We've seen that, right? I don't want to call in, but you've seen that. You're going to be held responsible. So ask those questions. Get the information that you need to make the right decisions, or whatever decision, make those decisions. Don't feel like I'm not telling you don't ask questions. I'm saying, ask those questions. And then if you're not getting any answers, that's when you talk to your board members, like, I've asked for this. And then your board members may say, but when you ask for that every board meeting, or, you know, or it's like, wait a minute, now what exactly are you asking for? Like, what do you need? Because sometimes we ask for things and that's not what we need. We need something else. So when you read it, it's like, this is not what I'm asking for. Like, clearly try to figure out what it is that you're asking for. What do you really need? So when you go to someone to ask for information, what are you looking for? You just want to know how much money Gwen made. Just say that. So we can tell you, no, I'm not telling you. But that's, if you want to know, tell them exactly what you're looking for. So you will get the right data, right? Because if you're you're not asking for specifics, then you might not get what you're looking for. But sometimes you don't know what it is. And as a new board member, you may not know. So those big things that are of concern to the board, find out what those big things are and monitor those big items, right? Monitor those big items. And when I say monitor, that is your job. Ask questions. We were supposed to do this. Where are we on that? What kind of progress are we making on that? Remember how we couch it also. Not like, you were supposed to do this and you did. How are we doing? How well are we doing? Think about how you ask the question, even not just to the superintendent, to other staff members also. How well are we doing on that? We talked about that a few months ago. What kind of progress are we making? You see the difference rather than an attack. It's more of where are we on that? How well are we doing? What can we do? These changes were made, then what are we doing now? So that is your job. It's not your job to just sit back and, vote on it. It's like, understand what it is you're voting on. And if you don't know, then go and ask the administrator, I don't understand this part. Help me understand this part. And it's like, oh, okay. Okay, because you don't want to get to the board meeting and then they're surprised. It's like, ooh, I wish he had come to my office and asked me that. Because a surprise is not good for anybody. Then the community is like, what's going on? Because it's a surprise. You don't want to play gotcha. You want to develop those relationships where you can talk ahead of time to get the information that you need. And if you feel that you still have to mention it in a board meeting, you can, because some people will do that. But it shouldn't be a long conversation about it. It's just a check-in. Does that make sense? How you feeling? Okay, I'm seeing, tell me, you're good? It's okay. Before we take a break, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
listening at
okay.
everything you're saying, and
Uh-huh.
it sounds good,
Yeah.
but I mean, I just have not experienced some of that since I've been on this board. We are one district, but we are elected by specific districts that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just stated to me by our previous chair that I'm good. It's just, we're supposed to be one, and I don't feel that at times.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of them, and I do the so that lets me know that we're not on one accord at times.
So in terms of consolidations, because you consolidated when? 2 years ago. Consolidations are the hardest thing for a community. Because we are so accustomed to our traditions and the way we do things on both ends. And I don't know anything about your districts, okay, let me say that. But it's so hard. It is so hard for the community, although it may have been the right thing, and I'm not judging that either. I'm just saying it's difficult. I know boards that have gone through consolidations back in the 90s, and they still have trouble because they are so used to their traditions and how they do things. And it's hard when you've had people in the district for 20, 30 years to change. But I'll say to you, you have an opportunity here to make this, now that you are one, as hard as it may be, you guys, the board members sitting here now, have an opportunity to bring a community together around this. Now, it's already happened, but you have the opportunity here to say to people, we're gonna make this work. It's going to work. How? Because I know some districts, well, we used to do this, but we can't do it now, and they took on the practice of this or that, right? That sounds familiar? Because that's how it works. But you have an opportunity to help the community, I don't want to say heal, but to grow and to learn that we're going to do this together. It might not have worked the way we wanted it to work, but we're going to make it work. We are, this team right here. And you have to stick to that because it's not going back. So you got to help everybody move forward. And the only way to do that is ask questions. Not ask questions about what we used to do because that's no more. It's gone. And sometimes it's hard because we feel like we've lost something. And sometimes we do lose some of the traditions and those kinds of things. But you have an opportunity to build new traditions. You have an opportunity to be better. But you have to believe that. All of you, I'm not just talking to you, all of you, you have an opportunity to be better. Some good stuff from this district and good stuff from that district and put it together and it's like we got us. But it's hard. It is so hard. Consolidation is hard on everybody. And so if you're feeling like, but you have to still, that's why you go to the superintendent. I want to talk to you about this. Whatever that may be. So it could be explained if there's some issues with how things are done. Talk about it. But not in a board meeting where it feels like an attack on the other district the way we used to. It shouldn't feel like an attack on a previous administration or a previous district. Because you want people to see that you are moving forward. And the only way to do that is you guys have a tremendous opportunity. I always say with a consolidation, I want at some point for a school board to come to our annual convention and talk about what they did with their consolidation and how they work together now to build the community. Because you're going to have to rebuild the community around public education. That's you guys. Yes.
That's, yeah, I turned my neck. Yes.
Yes, that's you
So,
guys.
I'm fine with the consolidation, that's not our issue.
Yeah.
My issue is, well, not an issue, is, we are the people's board.
Mm-hmm.
So the people need to know. But when I'm told that I cannot speak to the community that elected me, that's the issue. So I heard you say, you know, we're supposed to let the community know. So how? Is it okay to talk to the community?
And so when, I think if, and I don't know how you're speaking with the community, I'll just say for board members in general. A board member should not hold a community meeting and speak, like talk about things that they want to see on the board. Because now that you're a board member, you have to talk about what the board is doing, right? And I know that feels awkward because these folks voted for me. I want to get out there and tell them what I want to see. But now you are part of the team. You have to talk about it from the perspective of what we're doing as a board. This is what we're now doing. So remember the candidate, because the candidate can go out there and I'm going to do this, I. But once you get here, it's like, this is what we're trying to do. And it's going to take time. And people are impatient with that. They are. And, you know, again, those traditions, they're impatient sometimes about that. So as an individual board member going out and talking to the community about what you want, this is not a platform for a board to go out on social media or just have a meeting in the community talking about what you want to do as an individual board member. Because now what you want to do should be collective, what the board is planning to do, goals, the vision. This is what we're going to do. Does that make sense? I know it doesn't feel good.
It does.
I know it doesn't feel good. I know.
It does. It's just, I was told that we, as a board member, I cannot go out into my community and talk. Of course, we are one to talk about the board, but it was just stated that we cannot have a relationship with the community. That's my issue that I have.
Okay.
Is I can go out and talk with the community as we as a board. Not, I'm going out as a candidate.
So,
You mean like the church?
tell us, you want to have a community event and talk as a board member?
I did at one time, but.
Yeah.
So again, I represent a district.
You represent this entire district,
Mm-hmm.
not, if y'all have areas,
That's,
I'll take that out of my head.
Okay.
You represent everybody, all the children in this district.
Correct.
Right?
Mhm.
So not just one segment, all of you. I don't know how whether you're appointed, elected, it doesn't matter. But now that you're here, you represent everybody. Of course, you may bring concerns in an area that you're familiar with or these individuals voted for you, but you have to be mindful of all of you, of all the children. So you may not get what you said you're going to try to get for a particular area because there are all of these other things that may prevent that from happening. So you don't want to be a single-minded board member with that one agenda to get what I need from my group of people, my area, I'll say it that way, my area. And that's hard, that's difficult because people vote for you to come here, but that's why you have to help the community understand your role now. Your role is to support what happens with all the children. So you might not always get what you need here. And that's hard for people to get that, but it's your responsibility, all of you, it's your responsibility to help the community understand why you are here as a board. You represent all the districts, all of the entire district, all the children in this district. Not just the group that voted for you to come. And that's difficult to get. But I promise you, when y'all see me in another year or two, you're gonna be like, we got it. We understand now. It's just figuring out how to navigate that. It's figuring out how to navigate that. But to go to a church meeting or a community meeting and, you know, that's just, people can take what you say and then the next thing they're on Facebook is like, Gwen said this, and it's like, I didn't say that. That's not what I meant, right? And so you protect yourself too.
but, excuse me, may I
Yes.
ask something? This is like if you're talking to a friend or somebody's at the grocery store and somebody says, how are things going?
Okay.
then what can an appropriate response be? You don't say, I'm on board, I can't talk to you. I would think we'd say, our board's really working for increased academic progress.
How are things going about what?
And she wants to be on
Right,
board, and
how
that's
are
why.
things going about what? Right, because people, it's how are things going? Well, we're a new board, we're working together to try to achieve what it is that we need to achieve here. Nobody is perfect, but that is different than going to a community meeting and talking about the board and what's
Okay.
happening in the district. That's quite different.
Okay. When I.
It is, but you can have those one-on-ones.
Just
be-
natural, and you don't call it
Yeah,
second.
you can have it.
I mean,
You can have those one-on-ones and talk to people about, but I don't think it's a good idea to have a community meeting where you're individual. Just think if all of you decide to go to a community meeting and talk about the board. How many different messages would be out there? Different messages. Then it's like, ooh, I'm going to align myself with her because she's speaking more to what I want to hear. Oh, this person, because it'll be mixed messages. You want to have one message about various issues. And I'm going to end with this so we can take a break. But consolidation is difficult. It is. It is so difficult. Remember the traditions and how we used to do things. The staff, they used to be able to do certain things. They can't do it now, so they are angry, so they bring it to you. Or this, it's just like that. But remember, you have an opportunity to make this work. You guys in this room, the board members in this room, how you talk about the district is how the community will perceive what is going to happen with them. You have to feel like it's going to work, and it is going to work. You're learning. You're learning. You won't always get things done the way you want them done, but collectively, you're going to be able to move forward, and people are going to be like, "Ooh, okay, we made it through that." You talk to people who have done consolidations. I could give you the names of some of them, and they'll tell you, after all these years, but boys who work really hard to bring the community together after a consolidation, they do wonders. They do. So this is new. 2 years is new. The first year you spent trying to figure out how to get to the district office. And then it changed, right? So give yourself some grace. Help your community, your individual communities. Help your communities understand it's going to take a little time. You know, it's going to take a little time. If there's something specific, then go to the superintendent. If it's something you're hearing out there that, okay, we need to look at this, then go to the superintendent. But if it's about, because you have one budget now, right? One budget that has to spread through, right? So I'm going to get off of that, but know that you're not alone, but you have a tremendous opportunity. You really do. To make this really work, to bring people together around what has already happened that is not going back. And you have to help them move forward. You have to do that. You are responsible for helping them move forward in a positive way. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's take a break. Thank you.
You want us to stop videoing?
practices, and this will just be quick. Using social media. Social media has an animal of its own, and y'all know how that can be. You can post one thing on social media and it catch fire. And yeah, and the next thing you know, it's like I said, I didn't mean it that way. That's not what I was saying. So you want to be mindful of what you post, whether it's your first, and I say this, you don't lose your right to speak when you become a board member. But you want to be mindful of how you speak about this work in this district, right? We're not saying that. You don't lose your right to talk about your work, but you have to be mindful of how you present things because it is a reflection on everybody. And that's about students and staff. I'm the type of staff person, when a camera comes, I'm like running, because I don't want to be on your Facebook page. I'm running. Because students, you want to be mindful. I mean, y'all should have like policies, some sort of policy around the students and when students can be in pictures, and I would assume you do have that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you want to be mindful of that. So I may say, oh yeah, you can take a picture of my child and you're there with my child and it's on Facebook, and then when I'm mad with you, then I'm coming for the picture, right? So you want to be mindful of that. Well, because it's like, don't post kids in your pictures on Facebook. And again, I'm a staff person, I run. They'll tell you I run from the camera because I don't want to be on the Facebook page. So just make sure and I think you may have a social media policy. You do. Adhere to whatever your policy is. Always exercise professional decorum. Everybody is always watching. Everybody is watching. And it's a reflection on the board. You may say something and it's like, oh, they disagree on that. And then it's a way for people to divide you. So be mindful of that. Be mindful that you represent not only yourself, but now that you're a board member, you represent the community and this district. And that's everybody in the community and this district. Again, everybody is watching. Any questions about social media? And that's just something you want to just keep an eye on, because it could be a problem. It could be a problem. All right, y'all have done so well. So well. Okay, after the game, we're going to meet Andy. We're going to talk about good governance practices. And Andy is our buddy who's going to show us something that we hope nobody does. But it's Andy. So I'm going to play this video, and I want you to listen carefully to the video, and then we are going to answer those questions. We're only going to take a few minutes to do that. So let's meet Andy after the game. And again, this is about ethical practices. So you want to listen, and then you're going to answer the questions as a team.
If we cut the assistant coaches, there might not be anybody to motivate Mark like that. I don't know if this position is one of the ones Dr. Wilson wants to cut, but I'm opposed to it if that's the case.
I'm with Andy on this. We're gonna have to make cuts, and we are going to. I don't think those are the positions that I would take out of the budget. I mean, sure, we've got some office staffers or some cafeteria workers that can go first.
Okay, nobody likes cafeteria food anyway. I know Ted wants us to leave it all to Dr. Wilson, but we all know that's a mistake. Bill, you agree with me, don't you? And Monica and Hazel, what do you think?
It's going to come down to instructional staff or non-instructional staff cuts. He said we needed to find about $250,000 in payroll savings, didn't he? We could find that with non-instructional staff. That's what I'd be for.
Then I think we ought to go to Dr. Wilson and tell him that we want the cuts to come from non-instructional staff, period. I volunteer to do it, but Bill, you've got a lot better relationship with him. Would you tell him what we've decided?
Are we even supposed to be talking about this? I mean, after all, it's not a meeting, and neither Ted nor Dr. Wilson, not to mention the cafeteria staff, has any idea that we're even thinking about this. I don't feel good about it.
Oh, come on, Hazel. We here are a majority. We know what we want. We just saw more evidence tonight that we're right. Now, it comes down to us to decide the basis of how the cuts are made. It is our policy. And we want the cuts to be made to non-instructional staff, right?
I would agree with that.
And I don't know why we just don't go to Dr. Wilson and tell him what we want. If you think about it, we're going to save him all that embarrassment of us sniping at his proposal in a public meeting, and it'll save us a whole lot of time.
I don't know about that, Andy.
Oh, I can see the endless conversation we're going to have at that board meeting, huh? Ted on one side, the rest of us on the other. We're doing Dr. Wilson a favor if we decide now. So he doesn't waste time preparing a presentation we're going to shoot down anyway.
It just doesn't seem right for us to be making this decision in a basketball game.
Hazel, we are the board. This is a policy decision, and a majority of us set the policy. Not the board president, not the superintendent. We do not have to defer to them. You know, it is okay to stand up for what we believe. Huh?
All right, so with your partner.
That was so bad.
Oh, I'm so glad y'all think that. With your partner, answer the questions after the game, and then we'll talk about it.
Now, who's Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Andy.
I was about to say the only smart one was a white-headed lady. Guess what? She can do it too.
We'll take about 5 minutes to do that.
Not up for them. And I don't know if you're probably there. Probably. They ran by administration. They also basic violations. My understanding is that was 4 out of 5. So 4 was bad. And none of those were the board chair. They call it board president. That's what they call it.
Yeah, they call that work.
Unless they can't be out before, they can't be out.
One person that her over her.
Or they kick out his training.
Andy.
You like Andy?
I like him.
Andy is.
Believe it or not, I've had
An
boards
Andy?
do this to me. I mean, they get in there, they down at Hardee's, they sitting up there talking superintendent, yeah.
You find out at the board meeting.
They down there, they said, we decided at Hardee's.
You were the whole conversation.
Okay, let's see what Andy is talking about. Was it appropriate for board members to go to the game?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that. What do you think about that? It's appropriate for board members to go to the game. Yes, it's okay. You want to try to avoid a quorum, but even if you have a quorum, the intent of the law is that you don't go places and talk about business. You don't want to go and sit to dinner somewhere at a conference and then you say, by the way, and you start talking about business. That's an opportunity to talk about your families and what you're doing, your hobbies, getting to know each other better. When you have a quorum and you're out because you're going to eat dinner together. That's going to happen. But you want to try to, not try, don't talk about board business, not try. Did Andy commit an ethical violation?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. Brought up the superintendent, Dr. Wilson is the superintendent, brought up his proposal in an inappropriate way. Can you imagine Andy on your board? Oh my goodness. Yeah, he did. He should not have done that. But who was the person that, I mean, she said it was, like,
We shouldn't be.
he shouldn't be talking about it.
In the school gym.
I think was her name, on every board, say, wait a minute,
Right?
we're not the right, we're not supposed to be talking about this.
Say right in,
She doesn't.
she said right in, you can't talk in there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
She didn't walk away.
Yeah.
Did other board members commit an ethical violation?
Yes.
They fully engaged in the discussion. It's like, no, we shouldn't be talking about this. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. And then specifically about who should be cut. And the cafeteria staff and the food and, what parents were, yeah, real bad. Real bad.
We gotta have the coaches in there. We can't cut the coaches now.
What are some possibilities or ramifications for board members, that discussion? What could happen?
Ethical violation.
Ethical
They've got ethical violations.
Community distrust.
Gotta be a conflict on the board about the budget.
Conflicts about the budget?
Trying to micromanage the superintendent.
All of that,
The
yes.
discussion get back to the people out the
Oh,
cafeteria workers
good.
who you were talking about,
Right, right.
You know, we were talking about you getting from y'all.
Or the rumor gets
The
out
rumor
there,
gets out.
the cafeteria staff.
Exactly.
Right.
And you got chaos.
You have chaos, right, right. What do you think will happen with when Dr. Wilson finds this out at a board meeting?
They gonna pitch it.
Wow.
That would not be good. It's a surprise, like what? And then you all vote because you.
Well, they can't, because they've discussed it, they all have to recuse themselves. I think they said there were 6 on the board, they can vote.
But do you think this board is gonna, this group of people, they're gonna vote?
They're gonna vote.
They're gonna vote. So the cafeterias work, this is what I say about these kinds of, just because you can don't mean you should.
You should.
Does not mean you should. How should Andy and the other board members proceed with, they disagree with his proposal, they already know that, so what should they do?
They discussed it in executive session, they're talking about staff.
Absolutely, we're talking about staffing, so it can be discussed in executive session, it comes up on the board agenda. And so all of these, even the issue of saying that the cafeteria workers don't cook well, can come up in the board, because nobody's going to say anything, right, in executive session. So we hope that doesn't happen. That's why what happens in executive session is to stay in executive session. You want to be able to, just like Andy and the others, put whatever you think on the table related to the topic that's in executive session about the staffing. You want to be able to talk about that without people hearing it after you get out of executive session. Confidentiality is so important in executive session. It builds trust. or it destroys trust. Because if you're thinking you're talking to a closed session and it's only us, I'm gonna put my heart on the table, I'm gonna be courageous and say what I wanna say, and then before you get out, somebody in the community know, ooh, that would break your trust with everybody. So what happens in executive session should stay in executive session. And that would have been fine for them to discuss that and what they think about the cafeteria, all of that. And the proposal itself. So that's important, that you have those conversations in executive session when you're talking about staffing issues. And what happens there should stay there.
I know, this happened in another district.
Thank you for clarifying
During
that.
another administration. But a board member was discussing a paraprofessional, they were discussing a paraprofessional's behavior, okay, in executive session. And one of the board members went home and told her mama all about it. The next day, her mama happens to substitute, went to the school to substitute, and told some other staff members all about it. And that employee filed grievance with the board.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how stuff, I mean, the executive sessions, because they started running their mouths. And this employee said, oh no, you ain't gonna run your mouth about me.
Yeah.
And filed a grievance.
Yeah. And while there's protection for board members, but that's only when operating in your role, in your proper role. If you get outside of that, you'll be on your own. So you want to be mindful of that. You want to be mindful of that. But Andy is, we have lots of videos on Andy, because Andy is a board member you never want to see coming. You don't even want to work with Andy. But it's good to understand Andy's perspective, because he can say things sometimes that, well, that makes sense, until you realize he has a hidden agenda. Then it's like, no, you don't want to work with Andy. But sometimes you have to work with an Andy, so you need to know how to function when you have somebody like Andy on the board. So, that is this presentation. I left a little time for questions or comments. Any questions or comments? Something that I went over fairly fast and you didn't have time.
Can board members travel together?
You can.
Does it have to be a certain number, or
You can travel together. It's just make sure that you're not in the car talking about the proposal that's coming up. How you gonna sabotage it? Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Again, the intent of the law is that you're not just with each other discussing board business. I'm sure y'all eat lunch together and go to dinner and stuff together. Just make sure that when you do that, the purpose should be just so that you can get to know each other. Yeah. What else? This side, anything? So let's talk about things to remember. Just remember the board should be focused on the big picture. The superintendent is focused on the day-to-day operations of the management of the district. Change happens slowly, especially when you've had a consolidation. You do the work and give it time. Check in with each other. If you feel like the relationship is getting strained, check in with each other. Say, y'all, we need to talk. We need to have a session or something where we can just talk. Check in. Agree to disagree respectfully. Commit to being a high impact board. I can't wait until y'all have had a year or two under your belt and to see the change in the district and how you talk about where the us and them is like less and less and less in terms of where we used to be in, because now you feel like, you know what, we're getting what we need for all the children. Keep the lines of communication open. That is the key. Talk to each other. Sometimes you form relationships with one board member and you don't have one with it. Talk to that board member. If I'm the board member that's Andy in the group, and if we have a good relationship, say, no, Gwen, last night, what you did, right? You'd be able to talk to me. Come to me as a friend. Develop those kind of relationships.
But sometimes Andy doesn't have but one person on that board he can talk to. So that may be the person that all of y'all send to talk to me. And celebrate your successes. Sometimes we get bogged down in what's not going right. We forget about the things that are going right. And there's a lot. There's so much. But you have to ask the administration for a list. What are some successes that when I'm in the grocery store that I can say, when somebody says something that's not going right, I understand that. Let me get you to the right person. But let me tell you what else we're doing here. Like, come back with, let me say, these are some things that we are doing. Kind of have in your head about what is happening here. Get a list, that's some homework, of some things that are where you're making some progress. Because they're here, and sometimes we work so hard as individuals, we work so hard, we have a success, and then we're on to the next thing, and then we're on to the next thing. Stop and celebrate your successes, and share that with people in the community.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. So we talked a little bit earlier about parents and grandparents and how there's sometimes a little bit more, it's a little more complex because of your dual role in the schools. In your experience with other, because I know you presented to a lot of school boards, you've probably looked at a lot of policies and that sort of thing. So this is a two-part question. One, it's about involvement in the schools as a parent or a grandparent or an aunt when you're a board member. Because we have some policies about, basically, from the way I understand it, we don't want to appear to be favoriting, that's not the right word. Yeah, a certain school over another, or a certain group of students over another. But of course, so my question is there a state law that addresses that specifically? And do you know of other districts and how they handle this concern? And then specifically as a parent, how involved can I be without it looking like I'm preferring my child's school over the other schools in our district?
I would ask that very difficult question.
Because I've been mulling it over in my mind since I joined the board.
That is really tough. We have, well, in terms of the involvement, we had one attorney on staff. She was like, just don't do it. Don't go reading, don't go doing these things because you're a board member. She will say that. But then there are others who say, well, do it, but you gotta be careful. What does your policy say you don't have it? No, so, we do have it. Oh, it says board members cannot volunteer.
Yeah, well, that's one, our last attorney was like, no, because it just creates problems. Problems that you don't see coming until they're here. So that would be then, if you got that from us, then that's how I can answer that in terms of the model policy. But you can ask other folks on other boards if they have something different, and how does that work? Just ask call up somebody and just ask them, are you going to the regional meeting next?
Yes.
All of you are going to the regional meeting? Oh, that's good. Then you have a group of people there. I think one of the questions was for the regional meetings. I think you have the questions there and wanted some challenges that you just ask and see just get a feel for what other people are doing. But the model policy is what we see as a best practice to keep you from getting sued.
Okay.
And I will say, when you visit, make it a goal to maybe, if it's a visit, you go to your daughter's school and you probably all visit the area that, say I'm going to go to a different area, a different school. I don't want to call it areas. Is it areas? Yeah. Different ones.
Different cities.
Go somewhere else. Make it your business to visit somewhere that you have never been before. Let them see your face and make sure they know you're from the board, of course, checking with the board superintendent and the principal, and start visiting other areas, because that's important. When they bring proposals to you, then oh yeah, I was there last week. I saw that project. Now I have a better understanding of why they need this, because I saw it with my own eyes, right? So make it a habit of not just going to your area, for lack of other, because I look at it as a whole, but to other areas. Put that on your agenda, your personal goal to visit every one of these areas, every one.
We have done that actually.
Oh, you
Yeah,
have?
we
Oh,
started
good.
doing that.
Good,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, that is wonderful, because people need to see all the board members. I'm sorry.
No, it's good to hear that, because I feel like in a lot of ways, well, a lot of us are new, and it's nice to kind of
Yeah.
get different feedback from different, places.
Right, but see, you're doing it in the capacity of a
Yeah.
board member,
Yeah.
you know, you're not just out there. Go ahead, and then,
I'm thinking, what is it, you're not allowed to have a majority of people get together, so even if you were to go to the schools, we have 9 on our board, that would mean only 4 could go at one time.
yeah, but if you're going to visit, I don't know how y'all, that may be a tour that y'all were doing, were they doing a tour?
No, we went.
You just kind of,
They
it's not
reached out.
likely that you all gonna end up at one school at the same time. Now, I would say if you're all four people are going, and you need to that's maybe a little much for the administration, for 4 or 5 board members to show up one
Well,
day.
we just.
I would think that would be a little much.
We've actually checked with our principals and stuff, and some of them have asked that we come during family time.
Okay.
Not family time,
Okay,
after
whatever.
school meeting.
Okay.
And we just wanted to introduce ourselves,
Okay.
let them know that we're approachable
Mhm.
and who we are.
Yeah,
And I think the principals have been very receptive and supportive of that.
okay. If that works, if that's working for you, then do it that way. It's just a matter of making sure that
Yeah,
you've checked in,
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
see everything.
yeah.
What else? Anything else before we close out?
Well, I think it's inevitable that, not all boards or even no board is going to agree on everything all the time. But, if something comes up and I'm going to vote yes, I'm going to have reasons. If I'm going to vote no, I'm going to have reasons. And I just think that's important.
Yeah, and it's okay, you agree to disagree. It's okay, and nobody should hold that against you. It's like you just decided to go different ways. It's okay. Anything else? Ms. Sanders is, well, the evaluation is in the packet. I have enjoyed my time with you. I hope it was worth your time. If you know anybody at Deuce, call them up. Call them up and say, tell them I'm disappointed.
God's actually coming to visit us tomorrow. You need to tell him to go back.
To go by there and get him. I will tell him that. I will tell him that. So, but thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for being so engaged. I really appreciate when board members are really engaged, and you've done a really good job. Remember to give yourself some grace. Give yourself some time. It will take time. It will take time, but you can do this. You can do this. You're here for a reason.
I'm so proud of us. Like I said, I only came in November, but I think we all bonded real well. We're working well together. And if we can do it and be an example for the rest of the community, then I think it's all forward for us.
That's right. That's right. And you can be an example. You can,
And you were not bored.
Oh, well, good. You didn't go to sleep.
No.
So if you complete the evaluation, and I have a door prize that I'm going to give. It is a registration to the legislative conference, which is in December. So if you win and you can't go, then give it to someone else on the board. It could be staff member or a board member. And it has to be a sitting board member. It can't be a board member, a phone board member. Oh, thank you, thank you. You will get 5 points in 2.5 hours for being here, so we thank you for that. When you win, Jessica, if you will, don't register then, contact us to let us know.
Okay.
And if it needs to be switched, you can do that too. And the first one, and I'm sorry, I don't have the second one, but you can hold me to it, you get it. The first one is the legislative conference, and then I'm gonna give an annual convention, because y'all did so well tonight. Y'all did really well. These door prizes will save the district $300 for one, and I wanna think $350 for the other, so. Conference. So,
Should buy the
so put his name on it, and again, if you need to, if you can't go, switch it with somebody, so that you don't, so you'll get that benefit. And the next one is our annual convention, which is in February, and this bunch. February, I think that's I can't remember, 350 or something. So, you write it down, because I don't have that certificate, but I can send it to you, or we'll just put her in the system.
Okay.
Okay.
You just want me to write you?
Send me an email,
Send you an
like
email.
Ashley, and just give us both of them.
Okay.
Well, that I wanted to, that is it for me tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. You did a great job. We appreciate y'all coming. We appreciate the support of the School Boards Association. And, we wish you safe travels back to Columbia, I suppose, going home.
Well, thank you.
And maybe WeBake will still be open.
What is it?
WeBake.
It's a
The
bakery.
bakery in Denmark.
Don't tell me that. I'm not supposed to do that. But it's like, they bake all, it's like,
No, it's
what
only
did they
Thursday.
bake?
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's Thursday too? What is with this Thursday thing? Then I have to send live to WeBake.
Yeah.
It's WeBake?
Yeah, WeBake.
WeBake. I have to send live there, but I'm definitely gonna tell him I need a plate from Duke's Farm. I grew up in Orangeburg, so Duke's is like, you know, yeah.
Our juice is not Orangeburg.
It's not,
No.
it's not the same, what, okay,
This is not.
okay.
That's just my opinion as a computer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Excellent one in Aiken.
Yeah.
I have been to the one in Aiken. Yeah.